water don't move. You can build a house with stilts that's in the water, but it don't move. You can build pillows and all kind of things that hold boats, but they don't barges. They don't necessarily move. But if you got something that moves, and it's not barges move. Docks. The docks don't move. Hopefully, the docks don't move. Barges move. But anytime you get something that actually moves in the water, then you have to be concerned a little bit about shape. Why? Because a large square object will move in the water, but you get a lot of what we call resistance. You get forward resistance pushing the water. You get rear resistance, the water being sucked back in the back, and it sucks your craft backwards because it's trying to fill the hole up that was created when this began to move. So we want to curve the edges a little bit, curve the edges a little bit. Now, can I say, yes. Notice the water shoe is square. It's a triangle, a rectangle. I'm gonna get it right. Whoa, rectangle. Now, on a water shoe, because we're dealing with standing up, we're dealing with a high sense of gravity, you know, and all of this, and we get movement. In a regular boat, you don't move. You sit in one place and you paddle or whatever you want to do. And if you slide around, you kind of slide around a little bit. But on the water shoes, you can walk forward, walk backwards, and the body is trying to correct itself, and you're going like this, and you're going like that. So you don't want to cut off the top of your shoes. You don't want this. You don't want this to go into a point. Why not? Because you're losing buoyancy. If you cut this off, the part you cut off, you're losing buoyancy. Now you can cut this off and put it someplace else. In other words, I can cut this off here. I can cut this off and cut this off and put it here. And so, what have I done? I'm cutting this much off. I take it from here and I put it here. I cut it down here and put it here. But now, what goes on? What goes on? I have a rocking motion because I have no buoyancy here, and I've cut off the buoyancy here, cut off the buoyancy here. So what I got now? I got a rocking motion. But to prevent that, I leave this as much nose, flat nose on the front as possible, flat nose on the back as possible, so I don't get this rocking motion because I got buoyancy here and buoyancy here. So in my design, I'm not so much interested in pointed front and a pointed back. In a regular boat, that's great. In a canoe, kayak, and all that, that's great. But you notice in the surfboard, because they're not using pedaling motion, not in all surfboards, the early surfboards, it's kind of nosy. It's thick and fat around the nose, you know, rather than come to a point. They might cut the edges a little bit, you know. They might cut off the edges a little bit, cut off the edges, but they don't, you know, you don't get this thing here. You know, you don't get that because you're losing buoyancy, and before you know it, you got this rocking motion, especially with something we call live weight. With dead weight, the weight is dead. It sits in one place. It don't go anywhere. You know, boxes and bags and rocks and all that. It don't move. You know, so it stays in one place. And you can calculate better the weight fluctuation. But if you got live weight that's moving around and slushing around, then, you know, ocean cruisers with a lot of people on it, and you got all this moving around, then you got another situation. So that has to be factored in. You know, just like in a building, we have to factor in tall buildings. We have to factor in wind and all that stuff. So here we have to factor in this motion. So we like to, now on the bottom, under the bottom you can curve it this way, and we'll show you that a little bit more. We can curve it this way, but you don't want to curve it, you don't want to curve it this way. You can curve it this way. Like a surfboard, you know, you have a little bit of what we call a banana curve in it, you know. And so when you come up front, move forward, you still have buoyancy. You move to the rear, you still have buoyancy because you haven't cut all the buoyancy out. So here again, the little square box shoes you guys have and all that, you know, that's not good architecture. That's not good design. And you want to look good. You want to look good to yourself. You want to look good to your professor. You want to look good to your school, and because you're on YouTube, you're international. We out here in Okinawa and we see what you're doing. You want to look good. You know, you want to present to the world a positive, you know, a positive look and a positive feel. Okay, we're gonna come right back. So here we are back again, you know. Okay, now notice on these shoes, you know, we're just using string to string the netting together. You know, here again, we're not using all that tape. In fact, we don't have any tape on these shoes. We do have these little ties. We turn it sideways a little bit. You can see the little ties on there and all that. You got, of course, you can cut those off and this and that and all that. So you got a little more cosmetic and all that, you know. But at least it looks better. At least I think than all that tape. You know, that mummy stuff is like, yeah, you know, it's not, you know, all that whatever. And this costs just as the same price. In fact, it's probably cheaper than all that tape. And the tape gets sticky and Mickey and la-di-da-da. But this could take a lot more, you know. And so it works, and then you create more design in and all this, and then you don't have as many problems and all this. And this ties everything together with the netting. So we want to say that. Now what we're going to do, we're going to switch off a little bit and get into stylizing. We're gonna move this over a little bit, and then we're gonna come with another shoe. Got a little bit more style in it. And here again, we filmed this before. We talked about it for lengths on end. Well, not lengths on end, but lengths. And well, the reason I got my hat on because I want to try to hide my bald spot here. You know, whatever. You know, you know, try to look good. You know, whatever. I got my suspenders on or whatever. I don't know how good they look. You know. I'm going anyway. But we want to keep keep that in mind. We want to keep that in mind. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to make a little adjustment in and here we go. What we've done, we have another shoe that we worked on, and we worked on this one before, and it's in one of our films. But we're going to back up a little bit. Now you can see here. That's pretty much about body height and shoulder width. You know, it's about body height and shoulder width and la-di-da-di-da. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put this next to the other one we have. We're going to stick it over here just so you can get a different idea of a different shoe. Well, maybe we shouldn't pull it back. It's a little bit taller, and I don't know if you can see it. It has a little more curve in it. Now, this is for the serious architect student. I mean, when I was in school, you had students that were kind of there, you know, because the parents made them go to college. But you got serious students, you know, religiously involved in their schoolwork, you know, as opposed to the diddly-bop students, you know, kind of like I was, you know, diddly-bop students. But in the hood, we say diddly-bop, you know, whatever. Okay. Now look, we got curves on this shoe. Maybe you can see that curve. Maybe you can see that curve. I'm gonna hold it out here so you can see it. Maybe you can see that curve. I'm gonna pull it back this way. Maybe you can see that curve. You're gonna dance it a little bit. Maybe you can see that curve as it comes around. Maybe you can see that curve as it comes around.